Nice. So a little bit about myself. My name is Joe Clayman. If you haven't participated with me in the last few weeks, it continues to evolve and change. And obviously, like anything else we do in our world, the more we do it, the better we get at it. So if nobody's ever told you that, the only way to get better at something is by actually doing it, by actually physically like manipulating it or building it, right? So you have to actually like put things together and then get better at putting things together, and then like that's how we get better. Um, so yeah, so you can read, you can learn, you can study, and all these things, but the only way we actually get better at doing something is by physically actually doing it. Um, so yeah, so my name is Joe Clayman. I'm the owner of Move, and I created the core movement system, which is the cube and the blocks that you see around me. It is actually based in neuroscience and psychology, experimental psychology and cognitive psychology. So basically, without getting into all the weird philosophical, like crazy medical things, we just like teach people how to play. So really, a lot of what happens in our world is that we follow along with what we were told from no matter how far back it goes. So if you go all the way back to childhood, where we're like, um, this is what your parents taught you when you were a small child, and that's what you embodied or you took on, and like that was your seed of like what you knew about the world, and then you build off of that the rest of your life. So a lot of times what happens is that we hold on to a lot of those things, we get in our own way. So we start to um, when we want to make a decision or change our life or maybe try something different that's outside of the realm of what our family would have done or what our direct friendships around us would have done, or it's too scary, right? So a lot of that is our negative self-talk, our head talk that's saying that what you're doing doesn't make sense, you shouldn't do that, what if this happens, what if that happens. And really the way to think about a lot of our things in life is that it's just logistics. It's logistics in my world, in trucking or in event planning. It's really about getting from this point to this point any way you can. So in some circumstances, in regards to like shipping, you have laws you have to follow and things like that. But in the grand scheme of it, the objective is to get this to happen here over to where you're going to deliver it at, or make sure the party goes off correctly, or things are put in the right places. So really, that's what a lot of this is. It's just it's logistics. It's getting us out of our own way. It's helping people see that there's no really a right or wrong way to accomplish a task. It's that you just accomplish the task any way you can. So what I help people do is, like I said, get out of their own way. So one of the main phrase that I give people when we start to play is that there are no rules. There are no right or wrong ways to play, and you can do anything you want. So at this one point, you have complete free will to do the game or the task, however it is you'd like to play it. So all I'm going to do is give you things to use and things to touch. So in this situation, we'll say like our right elbow is going to be our thing we're going to use to touch with, not our hand, but our right elbow. So then our right elbow is going to go to the objects that we have around us. So if you have 4 or 5 things that are around you, that could be water bottles, toilet paper rolls, shoe boxes, literally any object that you want to use as your touch point. And you're going to use your right elbow and go to all 4 or 5 or 6 of your touch points all the way around you. Okay? So then what will happen after that is I'm going to give you things you can't use. So you'll be using your right elbow to touch all the things. And we'll say a level 1, which would be 1 restriction, would be your left foot off the floor the entire time. So your right elbow will touch everything, and your left foot will remain off the floor the entire time. So it's very simple, but as you start to play, you'll realize it becomes a lot more complicated than what you realized it might be. It's challenging to get ourselves from, to get out of our own way, to be able to think creatively and move ourselves in that space that we're in. Especially if there's people watching you. If your kids are with you right now, or if your spouse and you want to try it, but your husband or wife doesn't really want to try it and they feel uncomfortable, but now they're watching you do it, so now you feel even more uncomfortable, that's completely normal, because you're being observed by another human doing something completely silly and out of your normal realm of what you feel comfortable doing. That's fine, right? Like that's just training for the rest of the world that says, you know, you're weird because you're not doing it my way. But there is no my way. It is their way. They can do it that way if they choose, but it doesn't mean it has to work for you. So it's really just your way and your way and your way and your way and 7.4 billion other ways that you could do the same thing. And that's really what we're watching right now with the pandemic. You know, with watching each country handle what they're handling, how they're handling it, what they're doing, what their infrastructures are, how well their healthcare is, how well they take care of their people. You can literally watch how the entire globe, the entire Earth that we live upon, is focused on one external stimuli. The 7.4 billion people are going, touch the red ball any way you can, or all the red balls any way you can. So that's just the craziest, simplest way of looking at what we're going through right now, is that we're all experiencing what we're experiencing completely different than everybody else. So we can't really judge someone for how they're reacting to the scenario that we're in because we've never done it before. None of us. I don't think there's any. There might be a couple people alive that were around during the Spanish flu, but they're very old and very far and few between. So, anyways, so a lot of what this is we are going to gamify how we look about our life, right? So if you ever watched the Lego movie, it's one of my favorite movies, and we become master builders, and it's picking things from the area that you're in and building something, building this masterpiece. So I was thinking of like if you're in the kitchen, right, and all of a sudden you're making something brand new you've never made before, and you're going, okay, so I need to grab the 1 cup measuring cup, I need to grab the mixing bowl, a spoon from over here, I need a cup from the cupboard, I need to grab some things out of the pantry. And that's really all you're doing in the cube, is you're gathering all of these things from around you to build your masterpiece in the kitchen or in the tool shed or whatever. So like that's what you're really doing is it's coming down to seeing different things you can use and building one thing that's in front of you. So it helps us see like kind of become more in the flow state or more in the creator. We're the creative now. We're like, man, I can just look around, I can see all these things and like, what do I got to use and like build something. So we're going to gamify that. All we're going to do is basically give you a challenge. Now you become, instead of the guy on the screen that you're holding the controller and controlling this little guy running around the screen, collecting things or fighting other people, you're just now going to become that little guy. Now you're the avatar, you're this person, right? But it's in real life. You get to be the person in real life. So to me, I'm watching myself on the camera and you're watching me be my avatar. So it's really weird how we can interact this way now with video and how you can do what I'm doing. But here's the thing that I always tell everybody. The things I'm getting ready to give you tonight that are challenging to do with your own body and to figure out, they're randomly right out of my head the second I give them to you. So there's no preparation, there's no list of them, okay, that I'm going to practice every single time. So for me, it's working the exact opposite on myself, because I know that at one point there was 1,300 people watching me do something completely random on the screen for a bunch of people I don't know, right? And sharing it to even more people. So I get the same effect that you're getting myself, because I know that there's a lot of strange people that are watching me right now, and that's fine. I've been doing strange things my whole life without any care for what people thought about me. So it's interesting once you get past that and you can kind of live your life any way you want, because it doesn't really matter and nobody really cares anyways. They're too occupied in their own reality that they're really not focusing on your reality, because there's too much of their own reality going on. So I saw that in a meme one time that said, when you're 20, you're worried about everybody thinks about you. And when you're 40, you stop worrying about what everybody thinks about you. And when you're 60, you realize nobody ever cared at all. So it's something I want to leave you with. So gamifying is basically you're the avatar moving through as the controlled variable to yourself or uncontrolled variable to myself. And you're moving through a space of controlled variables, strings and balls and whatever. So I moved myself inside my cube. So I'm going to touch more objects than you are. But you can have as many objects as you want on the floor. You can put one up on an end table. You can change the height, the distance, whatever you want. So that's the cool thing about this, is that we're just this little ball of math moving around other balls of math, right? So the way this portrays out into the real world is that when you walk up to people and they are either part of your world or not part of your world. So part of your world would be people that are contributing something to your life, giving you something to work from, or teaching you a lesson, or teaching you wisdom, like a sage or a wise man or something like that, that's giving you something to work from, to make your quest easier. But then, just like in the movies, we have the stand-ins, or we have the filling people, or we have, like in video games, you have the extra characters that are kind of bumbling around, that they're just doing their own thing. Because they're there, but they're not really there. They're not part of your world. So, so that's the other people. That's the millions of other people you're going to drive past every day that you'll never meet in your entire life. Or maybe you will meet one of them, 1 in a million, right? So, but those are your avatars. Those are your other people. And then you have your quests. These are the challenges you face every day that you're going, wow, how do we get through this? How do we get past this? You know, like, there's some things in our life we have to just learn on our own. We have to just learn by doing and making the mistake and figuring it out and find a better way of doing it. However, there's a lot of things that we can learn from talking to other people and just learning from somebody else, that we can go, hey, I'm going through this situation. Has anybody else ever gone through this before? Right? And then that helps you work past or work through that, because now you're thinking of a different point of view from somebody that already experienced what you're experiencing or about to experience. And they're going, hey, watch out for this. This thing got me and I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't looking for it. And it was totally unexpected. So just keep an eye out for it. So that way you're kind of like prone to look for this thing or completely avoid it, and then not run into a situation. So we have to learn from each other. That's just the way. There's no reason to keep recreating the wheel when somebody already made it the first time. So let's do a little warm up. Let's do a level 1, or I'm not even going to give you a restriction. I just want you to get the feel of moving around and using something you haven't really used before in regards to touching. So in this instance, we're going to use the left knee as our touching point. And I'm going to go to the 4 blocks and some random balls above me and use my left knee to touch them. So then what I'll do next is I'll give you some restrictions to work with, okay? So here we go. So we use our left knee to touch whatever objects you're using. So if they can be high or low or crossed or you know, setting on top of something distance-wise, it's really your game. And there's one thing I forgot that's very important. This is about safety. We learn to move better when we feel safe. That's why this is important to be in your home right now, because you're safe in your home, away from distractions, away from any ways that you can harm yourself. So now the other piece is you're in complete control of your game. This is your world. So you have to pay attention to what you can do and how you're doing it at the level you can do it at. So you're in control. So just because I'm doing something a certain way doesn't mean you have to. You just have to complete the task of use your left knee and touch all 4 blocks. It doesn't matter how fast you go. It doesn't matter how slow you go. It doesn't matter if you walked, crawled, hopped, bounced on your head, like spun on your nose. It doesn't matter, right? It's just your left knee to all 4 blocks. So just do it however you can, okay? So here we go. So left knee. All right. So you felt a little moving around. You realize that, you know, the feeling of using something that to touch with, right? Because we always touch with our hand. We always touch with our foot. Well, we can touch with anything and assess with anything. You know, someone that has lost a limb or part of a limb has to learn how to palpate, touch assess with this other piece of their body that they're not used to using. So in this case, you're just using it. Now I'm just giving you something for a short bit of time to use to touch with. So, so going into this, there's 3 levels. Level 1 is a touch point, and then 1 restriction. Could be a foot, a hand, a knee, anything like that. Level 2 is 1 touch point. Could be my foot, my right foot touching, and both hands off the floor. So that's going to be 1 object touching 2 things you can't use. Okay. And then level 3 would be, as you've probably figured out by now, 1 touch point and 3 things you can't use. So it could be our right foot touching, no left foot, no hands. And now we're going to move around the space the same way, trying to get and complete everything however we can, just following the restrictions and then following what we use to touch with and not touch with. So, all right. So, and then at the end, I'll have a little surprise for you. We'll do a level 4, and it's something that I enjoy doing with clients just to see their reaction and how they process the information and complete the task. So, all right, so let's do a level 1, and then we'll kind of go into what I do. If you haven't been with me, is I do a little bit of movement, a little bit of philosophy and perspectives, points of view, different ways of looking at the world. So it all just kind of gets fixed in, okay? So, all right, so we're going to use let's do our left knee for touching. And we're going to keep our hands off the floor. So your left knee will touch, and no hands on the floor, okay? All right. So you can see that gets a little more challenging when you have to think of what you're using, which is different than what you're used to touching with. And then you're having to remember what you can't use, okay? I think I gave you no hands on the floor, which is actually technically a level 2. So if you actually did all of that, congratulations. That's what you know what level 2 is. So yeah, so something to go into this with is to realize that we often take in with a lot of tasks or quests, if you want to call them, in our day is expectations. Expectations and attachments to what we think we're capable of. And there's this one I heard recently that it's one of those weird, short, cheesy ones that are very powerful because it's matter of fact, is that you have made it through 100% of what you've gone through so far. If you are alive right now, no matter how hard life has been, you have gone through 100%. There's no variation of that. You've gone through 100% of what has happened to you so far. So don't stop now. Just realize that, as Buddha said, life is suffering. Well, if you stay where you're at and don't go anywhere, it's really hard. And life is challenging. We live in a kind of a scarcity mindset where we're always almost out of everything, right? And that's really hard to live like that. But to get farther along down the road, to get further down your path or up the mountain, it's also really hard. And you can talk to anybody that's became successful, anybody that's created something. You know, a lot of us get to the point of we have this brilliant idea, and then the first time somebody punches you in the face or life punches you in the face, we're like, yeah, I don't think I can do that anymore. I don't think I can handle the rejection. I don't think I can handle what people are saying or thinking about me. So then we give up. And our idea that we had, our brilliant idea, is left in the trash can with everybody else's. So I'll share this little story with you, and we'll do another level 1. The cube that you see that I'm in, that I've now been backed by many different scientists and medical professionals and all this for what I do with my cube, is that for almost 9 months or a year, it sat outside behind the garbage cans. I had given up. I was like, I can't do this. It's too much. I'm not getting anywhere. And I was listening to this talk, and there was this guy came on, and he goes, if you're sitting there not following your dreams or not following your goals while there's someone in the hospital begging God for the opportunity that you're wasting. And at that moment, when I heard that, my dad was actually in the hospital from a stroke. So I literally, like, when they say there's no perfect time, I literally just got up, I walked outside and grabbed all these pipes. They're actually it was a different set. And I brought them back there and I started cleaning them up and I started all over again. And it's just like that. It's just like this, wow, like I need to do this. Like, why am I not doing this? So there's never a perfect time. There's never a time where we're not going to have expectations or attachments to us wanting to be the best at something the first time we ever do it. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to give yourself grace, give yourself patience, and realize that the master sculptor wasn't a master in the beginning. And the best way to become the best master is to not become one at all and stay like a child for as long as you can, and always learn and create and mold and evolve and ebb and flow through nature, and just like take what it gives you, like just be part of it and become it, and know that change is nature's delight. So it's going to happen. So the more we can like go with the waves and surf, the easier life becomes. So it is hard right now, and I'm experiencing it as a business owner. It's very challenging right now. So give yourself grace, realize that you're going through something you've never experienced before in your entire existence. So you're not going to know what to do the best way right now with all of this going on. So that's what I want to say. All right, so another level 1, let's do our right foot touching, and let's keep our left foot off the floor. So our left foot will be off the floor, right foot is touching, okay? All right. It's a little more challenging. I hadn't been in the cube too much to do some of these more movements, because the first few weeks I was just using the blocks. So to put all this back into the cube has actually been kind of fun to move around a little bit more. So yeah, the attachments, it's a really big thing. We tend to find attachments to people and expectations of people. And that's another one that I like to talk about, is having zero expectations of people, zero expectations of what they're going to say or what they're going to do or bring, and just being present in the moment. And if a gift comes to you, then be grateful for the gift and appreciate the gift. But if you automatically expect that they should bring you something and they don't, then you feel that level of disappointment in your body. You're like, then all of a sudden you have this like animosity or this feeling of negativity around this person, because you expected that they were going to bring you something because everybody else does, or normally someone would. Well, maybe I was doing a podcast with a guy who was almost 80. And he said this one time because his mom told him this. He goes, "You don't know what's happening behind their front." So yeah, expectations of people, because it's so much easier in life to just like take the gift if it comes, but like not be looking forward to something, not expecting something from somebody. So that way you can just be present and take what's happening as what's happening. So so let's do another level 1. Let's do our left hand as a touching point. So I'm going to give you an easy one. So left hand will be touching. And we're going to keep our right foot off the floor. So left hand's touching, right foot stays off the floor, okay? All right. Yeah, it definitely gets me a little more working harder than I used to, just getting on the floor. So that's good. Let's talk about empathy a little bit. And I kind of mentioned this in the very beginning a little bit about, people losing an appendage and having to like relearn how to use that piece of them differently than what they had before, right? Because we're used to using our hands to touch things, but if you don't have your arm from your elbow down and you still need to move something, it doesn't mean you can't use your arm to move something. I can move the block around or something around in my life around. So what I do with you in here is I give you things that might be challenging for 30 seconds, a minute at most, that you don't have a certain body part, you don't have something that you're used to using to use something. Like if you ever broken a bone, or if you even get a cut on your finger, like the craziest thing, like a paper cut or something, or a hangnail, and you go to tie your shoe and you're like, holy cow, like I can't, you're like trying to like get your shoe to tie because this hurts so bad. You don't realize how many times you hit that spot. It's all of a sudden like you have a spot there and you can't do something you normally do without hitting it, right? So we realize how often those things occur and how challenging life becomes without something. And you're realizing it now. If I take something away, how hard it is to get yourself around the floor. Well, there's a lot of those people, there's millions of people in the world that don't ever get the chance to have it back when they're finished, right? That's their life now, that's how they live. So this gives you a chance to nurture empathy, because we need to be able to care for other people. It's like when they did that study with mice, they put an injured mouse in the cage with a bunch of other mice. The other mice were around trying to help it, to heal it, to make it better, to help, to get it somewhere. Well, we're the same. Our empathy is the same way. We see an injured human, and humans come in and we try to nurture it or help it, get it to where we can and make it better, to get it to a hospital or to get medical attention. So the empathy in the world right now, because there's many millions of jobs that are missing right now during the pandemic, coming out of this, and the world's shifting over into more virtual and more automation and more robotics and AI and machine learning and all these things, where the jobs maybe, not to sound negative, but maybe 10 million jobs don't even come back. So here's the cool thing, right? Is because we have a chance to build things, we have a chance to create things, make the world a better place right now. So by nurturing our empathy, to become entrepreneurs, to become business owners, to become creators, to become artists, right? Is because the more empathetic we are to other people, the more we see ways we can build something to help somebody's life become easier or better. So whether that's an app, or whether it's art, whether it's a song you wrote, or a product you're building, or an idea you have, is that you're building it to create value for other people. Because here's the thing, if you're building a business or trying to create something, and the idea that you're going to make money for yourself, you've missed the point completely. Because we are on a path of our why or our purpose. And your purpose could be to make these 100,000 people that have this disability, make their life better, make their life easier. So you're bringing value to the people that have this problem. So now they see the value in what you built because you did it to help them. You did it to help make their life better. Okay? So then they're going to buy your thing or follow you or be interested in what you're doing. and then go, hey, check out this guy, he's really trying to help us, and now you create this thing. But over the last 20 years, what I've watched is this like individualization, this like, what's in it for me, how much money can I make, how do I become the millionaire, how do I become the billionaire, all these things. And you're doing it for not necessarily a selfish reason, but it's not selfless enough or empathetic enough to other people that you're losing steam, because you're only doing it for the benefits of yourself. You're not doing it for the benefits of the world or the people around you, or like to change medicine or to change healthcare and make the whole world better. So I heard this once, like, if you want to become a billionaire, invent something that helps a billion people. And it's the same way you can take that metric and drop it all the way back down to, there's 10,000 people that have this problem. I'm going to build a thing because I think I can make something that I see that they have a problem with all the time that makes their life easier. That's the importance of empathy right now. And we need to really nurture that and hone in on it and realize that that's what's going to save us right now more than anything, is being empathetic towards each other and helping one another and being patient and kind and caring and helping one another get better. Okay. All right. So let's do a level 2. Let's do our right foot touching and our left foot and right hand off the floor. So right foot touches right hand, left foot off the floor. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about gratitude. It's one of my favorite words. And there's something really interesting that I learned not that long ago, because there's always the black and white. There's like music, right? So we have the black and white, are the intervals in between. There's life and death. There's the waves, right? You can't have a wave without a trough. There's always an up and down. But what I didn't realize until I was reading about it is that appreciation and gratitude are literally a black and white of each other. So appreciation is actually more just by the tiniest little bit, the tiniest hairline fracture of the positive or the negative. And gratitude, by all means, in my opinion, is never negative. But to be so like present and understand like the power between the two words and how much higher vibrational, when we talk about vibrations, they're real, how much more we in the positive appreciation is, because the way they said it, and you can either agree with me or not agree with me, and that's completely fine too, but gratitude is more being grateful for something you don't think you deserve, right? Being grateful that you have it. You should just be grateful that you have it, right? Where if you appreciate something, you already know that the world is abundant and we can all have as much as we want. And it's not a pie. Just because someone took 2/3 of the pie doesn't mean you're not going to get any. The world isn't like that. We live in this abundance where we keep creating and keep making and keep building, right? So that's what we're doing, is we're creating this out of abundance. We can just keep building and keep making. So we should, not should, I don't like that word, appreciate when we get something, or appreciate. That's the whole like having zero expectations of people, and they give you something that's amazing, this tiny little thing, and you're like, wow, thank you, I really appreciate that, right? That's not being grateful that they gave it to you because you don't deserve it. That's you appreciating the fact that you weren't expecting anything from them, and they're like, here, I brought you this thing. It's a fresh made pie, I made it myself, it took me 3 hours, right? And you're like, wow, that's amazing. So you can see where the appreciation and gratitude is the positive, negative, or the black and white, right? So, but it's so fine, it's so tiny of the difference in between there. So, all right, so let's do a level 2 again. So let's do our right hand touching and both feet off the floor. So right hand touches, both feet off the floor, okay? All right. So we talked about gratitude a little bit, and there's something that in Stoicism they said this in a quote. It says, "Excuse me, live every day as each day is a new life." So you have 24 hours, or from the moment you wake up, and it could be like for myself, between 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock, and I go to bed at midnight every single night, every single day of the year, every single day of the week. That's just what I do. So that is your moment to accomplish as much as you can from when you wake up till you go to sleep. And you can divide it into how many minutes you want. You can divide it into how many hours you have. Try not to give something an hour that should take 5 minutes. If you can do it in 5 minutes or less, do it right away. That way it's done. There's a lot of little things you can do in regards to time to keep snipping it away and chopping it. So waking up in the morning, if you can start your day with the tiniest little piece, the tiniest grain of sand, the tiniest little gratitude, appreciation for being alive, just to be a human one more time in this grand, expansive universe that goes for hundreds of millions and billions of light years away, and you're this tiny little creature, like not even as big as a gnat in comparison of the whole universe. You're here, and you get to feel and love and appreciate things and taste things and love your partner and see the beauty of the world one more time. You got it, one more shot, right? So to narrow that down even smaller, you can go, well, wow, for me, my eyes opened, I can see, it's beautiful, the sun came out, the sun's coming in my bedroom window, I can hear the birds outside, I can have a rational thought, I can think about what I want for my day and for my life and my goals, right? Start out with something that small and then go, wow, I have my beautiful partner laying next to me, I have my soft bed, I have a home, I have a beautiful and amazing dog, right? And you keep building off of that throughout your whole day, and you focus on what you already have. You focus on appreciating the things that you already possess, whether that's information or knowledge or wisdom, people, things, experiences. Those are things you already have. So if you focus so much on what you already have, then more of your day will be filled with wins, because you're not focusing on what you don't have and what other people already have that you don't. You're focusing on what you already have and what you're gaining extra that you didn't have when you woke up that morning. Because you're like, wow, I didn't have that, and now I have 10 of those. How did that happen? Right? So those are all wins. And then you start focusing more on the wins and more on the wins, and you get more and more wins because your brain is trained to see all of the wins. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. Look all these things that keep coming to me. Right? So you're not focusing on oh, I wish I had that. Or I wish I had I don't know if you ever saw this meme. It was the guy sitting out his window, or it was the guy, I think it was at a bus stop. He goes, man, I wish I had a car. And then there was the guy in the car. He goes, wow, I wish I had, this nice sports car. And then there's this guy, it zooms out and zooms out, and there's this guy sitting in his window, disabled, and he's like, man, I wish I could, I wish I had a bike. I wish I could walk. Right? So there's always going to be someone that has something more than you do. And there's always going to be something that you want. So the biggest thing is to focus on what you already have and appreciate just literally being alive and being able to feel and appreciate and touch and feel and love and experience the world around us, because it's incredible. It's amazing. And if you just take time and put things away a little bit and just be a human, just be you, and appreciate that. So Let's do level 3. So if you are comfortable at level 2 and don't want to move on, that's totally fine. That's the whole point. It's your game. You can do whatever you want to with it. So if you want to stay, if you're still at level 1 and you're still playing, congratulations. Like, you're still here. So have fun with it. Make some fun with it. Play with the kids. Realize that if there are people watching you do it, it's harder to do because you are now entertaining other people that are watching you. So it becomes more challenging. So that's completely okay. All right. So level 3 is going to be 1 touch point and 3 things you can't use. So let's just use that one as our right elbows are touching and our feet and our hand, our left hand and our both feet will stay off the floor. So your right elbow will touch, both feet and left hand will stay off the floor. Okay. All right. Those get a little more challenging when you're trying to remember 3 things and where 3 things are that you can't use, what you're supposed to use, and how you're going to get yourself to there. So it becomes quite challenging. Um, so practicing this at home, you can do it as often as you want. You can literally just take pieces of paper with a body part written on them, put them in a hat, and pick out one as your touch point, and pick out 1 or 2 or 3 of the other ones that you can't use. Like, that's the absurd simplicity of the whole thing. It changes as you start working with other people. So it's designed around the master-student relationship in Eastern philosophy, where there's always someone that's going to know more than you do, or someone that is able to help you more than somebody else. So in the example here, where 2 children can simply play this game by saying, all right, so you, Johnny, you're going to use your right hand to touch all the reds. And Billy is going to use his left hand to touch all the blues. And you guys have to work together in this space, and you're just going to play this game. So it's easily played with 2 children on a play date, used in schools, a lot of different ways to use the tool that it is. But the cool thing about it is that the master-student relationship continues to evolve based on the level of knowledge that this person has as the master. So this child that was playing a game in here, because it's his play space, he gets to design it however he wants, and then he normally plays with Billy. Billy's not there. Well, the therapist comes in, whether it's mental health or autism therapy, or movement therapy, or dancers, and they're able to help this person based on their level of knowledge of what this person's doing, or why they're doing it, or how it's happening, or why did they hesitate to touch something, right? I watch this all the time when I tell people that there's literally no way to mess anything up. There's no rules, no rights and wrongs. You can literally do anything you want. And I say, touch all the red balls with your right hand and all the blue balls with your left hand. And they're terrified. They're like paralyzed in fear to touch the red ball. Well, why is that? Right? So I, as not being a mental health professional, I don't get to dive into all of that. Because I can easily say, well, why are you afraid to touch that? And they can easily go, well, I was punished every time I made a bad decision, right? So now they're afraid to make decisions. But that goes down this rabbit hole of like whys, right? And me not being a licensed professional in mental health, I have to stay on the idea of like, let's just play a game. Let's have some fun. Let's get out of our head. Let's get into the flow state and have some, play around like little kids. It's fun. But that's how a lot of this works. It's literally the master-student situation of like, there's always somebody that can know more or help you or see through empathy how they can serve you more, right? Because we're just playing in a plastic forest, same as we would 10,000 years ago. We're just doing it with plastic now, and with other people. But we need to heal from other people. We need to heal through the relationships between us and somebody else. We need to be witnessed for our mistakes, witnessed for our decisions, and our follies, and our and you know our mistakes that we make and our decisions. So that's what a lot of this is human to human situations where you can experience this online virtually with me. And then as we start to add people into your actual space, you'll start to play the game differently. So I have these at at a health fair, and someone will be playing and they'll find it really challenging. They're like, man, I thought this would be a lot easier than it was. Well, there's 12 strangers watching you move around spontaneously doing things you haven't done since you were 3 years old. So why would you think you could play it as good as you thought you did? That's the expectation, or the anticipation of how good you should be. Uh, so yeah, so let's do the final one, which I was telling you about. So it's going to be a level 4. If, like I said, if you're still at 1, be it 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't matter. It's your game. Level 4 is 1 touch point, 4 things that can't touch. Okay, so we'll use our right hand as our touching thing. Our right elbow, left hand, and both feet will be off the floor. So our right hand touches, no elbow, no hand, no feet. Okay? So you can see it gets a little more challenging when you don't have all the things you want to use. Um, if you noticed myself moving more in a ball, or rolling, or tumbling, we move better as a ball than we do as a board. So I call that our adult brain or child brain. Our child brain is like this bumbling little animal that's still learning its body and its place in space and how it moves. Where as we become adults, we're like, we have to stand, we have to crawl, and we have to take the bridge, not jump over the creek, and we have to go around the bushes instead of going through them, right? And we lose this creative idea of how we play and how we move through space and how we move in our environment to become the rigid adult and all proper and the way everybody should do it, right? As when you get a certain age, you should do it this way. You get a certain age, you should do it this way, and you have to do it this way, and you have to be married by this time, and have kids by this time, and there's all these should be's. But one of the best phrases I really like, some people don't like it, and that's fine, is traditions are just peer pressure from dead people. So if it worked for somebody 150 years ago, congratulations. Doesn't mean it works now. So if you're having a problem trying to figure out something, read some of the information, gain some knowledge from it, but realize that sometimes it doesn't apply anymore. It doesn't apply to the situation we're in because we have to evolve. We have to keep moving forward and changing. So, so I'm gonna leave you guys with all that. I am doing virtual one-on-ones. If you are interested in doing a private session with myself, you can find me right now at neuralmovementtherapy.com. My email address is joe@neuralmovementtherapy.com. Instagram is infinite_movements, and Facebook is move massage Raleigh. So hit me up on there. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave me some comments, and we'll keep coming back every Wednesday. And I look forward to learning more about you. And join on. We actually have a Discord we're working on right now. We're adding some people. If you're interested in being on there, it's actually free or complimentary for the lower level. So you'll get what you're seeing now, plus the ability to have conversation. It's a more intellectual form of social media. So we're pushing for long form conversations, networking, sharing of art and music and books. So if you're interested in getting around people that enjoy thinking, philosophy, and new ways of seeing the world, what we want to use it for is to be able to provide you a place of wisdom. So if you're in a situation, and it's not for mental health, there's no mental health professionals, there might be some on there. Um, we don't encourage you to search for medical advice on Discord. But if you're going through a situation or coming into an interview or something's coming up in your world, you're going, well, I don't really know the best way to approach the situation, present it on there and see who has the information that could help you through that situation. So that's what it's for. We'll be sending out that information shortly as well. So stay tuned. I look forward to seeing you guys next week, 6 p.m. Wednesdays, the Creative Movement Workshop by Move. So stay tuned and stay awesome. All right, thanks guys.